That's what I thought. So I got a different. Just want to make sure I had the initials. Right, I'm not adding something that already got on. Why is she right on the door? Order, 6 o'clock. I'll begin with the call, roll call the members, Swenson. Cowdery. Stewart. Delaney. Fenton. Thank you. Our agenda, we will review and approve minutes from July 2nd. There'll be a period for public comments. And there is no old business. Under new business, we have 2 reappointments for the Conservation Commission, recognition of Miranda, signed some funding documents for transferring CRFs and ETFs. Andrew Perkins to talk about use of some EMS account funds, the highway supervisor report, Flaghold Road paving observation from Jim, update on the RSMS, which is a project we're doing with the Lakes Region Planning Commission, discussion release of the July 25th event video, our CCTV security camera video, discussion of the June 25th event and next steps, and then an update on a small work group that is already working on the workplace environment and providing a safe environment as well. We have signatures for the Elmo Pond and Flaghold Road work for $95,180.33. Payables manifest of July 10th for $125,405.62. And the payroll manifest of $43,589.68. Now we have non-public as a standing. Is there a need to go into non-public that we're aware of? No, not aware of. Yeah. Are there any other agenda items from select board members?
Yeah, I'd like some updates. Under old business, I want an update on the R&D letter about the bid process for the paving this year. Like to get a status of the process that we're gonna have in place for employee reviews. I'd like to get an update on the Samard property discussions with the attorneys and where that stands. I'd like to get an update on the transfer station fees. And we were examining transfer station fees and changing them. I haven't heard that in a while. And I'd like to have this update on where we stand in regards to seeking bond counsel. Under new business, I'd like to discuss the geese at the beach.
Where do you want to put that?
Under new business, it doesn't matter where, I don't care.
How about Reservoir Highway Supervisor report?
That's fine. I'd like to just get some kind of scheduling, so for the police station. So we can get back to working on the design for that. I'd like to get a discussion about when we're gonna have Don's review. And I'd like an update, you can put this by the highway department, an update on recruitment efforts for the position that's available now in the highway department. That or maybe part of your report, Jeremy, I don't know.
Anyone else? All right, then, let's move into review and approval of the July 2nd minutes. We had a chance to review. I saw there was one comment, there was a date that was corrected. The other comments? The motion approved?
One second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Public comments? So, yes, no.
Maureen Callahan, Hall Road. First, I would like to publicly thank Jim Danforth for putting this in the Kearsarge shopper and letting people know, that it was time to come and stand together about some of these things that don't seem to be getting discussed in front of the citizens of this town. And I would also like to say, you know, I changed my schedule July 2nd to attend because on the agenda was the topic of what had happened between Jim Delaney and Don. And you took a vote and informed everyone in here that you would not be discussing the topic. And then I understand when I went home, because there was no point in me saying, the topic came up and it was discussed, and that's inexcusable. I just want to say that no way to treat your citizens. Thank you.
All public comments? Check.
I'd like to publicly thank the highway department crew. Recently they came by and did Smith Road up in front of our property around. It's the second time I've seen a grader in 11 years. They graded it down, the dust control, did a wonderful job. Plus, I've noticed the quality of the pothole patching is immensely different since we've got the box. Permanent patches, they're gonna last a long time. So we're on the right track. Thank you.
Warren? I just want to know if we will be allowed to participate in discussion after the select. As we usually do.
As we often do, yes, but not always. I mean, the protocol for a select board meeting is that you have public comment period, and it's open for just that, public comments. And then we are in our select board meeting, which the public is able to observe. Yeah, and we often do take comments. So, yeah. I'm guessing that, I'll turn to the board. Feel about taking any comments from the public during the meeting.
I'm say we could.
Other thoughts?
This is the very thing that Mo is complaining about. I mean, we've got
Seeing as how it's all about me, I don't have a problem with the discussion whatsoever.
So we will take comments, but I want to make sure that we control the comments. So they should not be inflammatory. They should not be derogatory. We're going to try and maintain time limits. There are facts, and we will express those facts, and we will do our work as a select board. So if it's something that adds in a way that is meaningful, that is fine. But it should not be a piling on or attaboys or any of that type of thing. Yes, ma'am.
Lauren Dash. So this is my maybe first meeting coming, and I know other people have asked on comments when stuff gets addressed for these meetings. It seems like nobody has answered the question if these meetings want to be virtual, if people can participate that way. A lot of other people my age have a really hard time accommodating daycare and working schedules, and no disrespect, but I feel like I'm one of the younger people here. I really don't mean that disrespectfully, but actually would really be helpful for us who are trying to juggle having kids at home and whatnot, because I know a lot of people who saw the post that was made regarding the advertisement of the shopper. And when we saw it last night, we're like, oh, we want to go. And it's just it's difficult to accommodate. So I just feel like it never gets addressed when I ask online. So I don't know if anybody ever will address it. Is that an option?
So what we, as part of our strategic plan, one of the things we're looking at is to hold quarterly or at least half-year quarterly town meetings that would not be officially a town meeting, but would be an open meeting like this
Okay.
to be able to discuss, because when we've scheduled things on a Sunday afternoon, people say, what are you trying to hide?
Right.
If you do it too early in the day, people are working. If you do it too late, people say, well, I've got children at home, I've got to deal with that. So we've been pretty consistent over the last 4 years on Thursdays at 6 P.M. And when people have had an interest, they manage to show up. But we are trying to find some ways to do that more and have these face-to-face conversations, discussing what's going on. Questions, what can the select board do? What can it do? Because there are some of the things that are pointed out in that article are not select board items. So we'll discuss that as well. And but we will make accommodations as we can. Other public comments.
Can I just piggyback on that real quick? I'm the town administrator. As far as the technology goes and the RSAs, they don't allow for remote participation. So we could live stream the video with this 360 degree camera.
Yeah.
I can send out a Microsoft Teams link, but I'll send out Microsoft Teams and then somebody will be like, well, what about Zoom? And then somebody will say, well, what about whatever?
Sure.
So it becomes this nightmare situation. So we just don't have the technology or the resources to have this big city council meetings every 2 weeks. So
I mean, just having, it was frustrating and honestly disheartening that it wasn't the first time where I had asked that question regarding other topics. And when people are, and it's social media, but when people are liking it, which also tells me, okay, other people feel the same way, and the comment never gets addressed. So I understand you definitely can't accommodate everybody, but I appreciate that, like knowing that effort. But also, like, it's 2026, a lot of us have our phones, a lot of us work from home. Like, I really feel like it could help. So
if we could stream it, and just everybody in the room knows this, but Facebook is not an official town channel. That is a completely separate thing. Any business that, I'll post on there occasionally when I see,
sure.
wrong information or whatever, but as far as that has nothing to do with the town. So just because it's on Facebook, the best thing to do, pick up the phone, call me, send me an email. Don't message me on Facebook. Just pick up the phone, call me, email me, come into my office, say hi, whatever. But yeah, Facebook is not a town.
We might be able to look into doing something through our town website and having something up there that's streamed.
If I see you commenting on the post and I've asked the question and it's not getting answered, it's just a little frustrating, but I appreciate you offering that. So I think that's a great place to start. I appreciate that.
Jesse.
I'm just a little factual, I believe when you were speaking of new business that you to raise, you spoke of consulting about the Simard property business.
I put that under the old.
Yeah, old business, sorry. But I believe the name is Sirard.
Xerox.
Correct. SIRAR.
Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Any other public comments? Jeff.
I've spent the last 2 weeks going through all your meetings for the last year. Just put it down in Excel and basically just give them the preamble. Look at how do we get, what's driving the decision, if you would. And based on what I found there, again, I go back to the RSAs and it's pretty clear your charge is to protect property values. At the end of the day, that's just clearest thing by us, the RSA's come out with is you're to protect property values. You're not specifically responsible for a lot of what happens in town, but you are responsible for making sure that what is happening in town is clear, concise, and that the RSA's are being followed by the other agencies. So I wrote that I'm a believer. Policy is the mechanism by which fairness is translated from aspiration into practice. A well-crafted policy establishes clear expectations, applies the same standards to everyone, minimizes the influence of personal preference, favoritism, or emotion. When rules are consistently followed, individuals can have confidence that those decisions are based on objective principles rather than shifting opinions or unequal treatment. Fairness does not require that every outcome be identical. It requires that every person be judged by the same established standards. Outcomes that arise outside of policy, however, well intentioned, often create inconsistencies and undermine public trust. Exceptions made for one individual invariably raise questions about why others were not afforded the same consideration. Over time, arbitrary decisions erode confidence in leadership, weaken institutional integrity. Policy provides foundations for accountability, allows decisions and actions to be measured against known standards. In this way, policy is the fairest means of governing, well, even when individual outcomes differ. And that was what I couldn't find in a year and a half. The discussions are more about the outcomes than the policy. That's what's being written. And if you highlight them, and I did yellow and orange, outcomes were the main discussion point, almost every time. Not the policy, not the rule. And again, we've had some things that have come out, town meeting this year and other things. People were very unhappy with the outcomes for whatever reason, and that's not important. And you guys have a lot of hard decisions to make. There are a lot of things that maybe, I'm not saying they're running poorly, they're not running well. And taxes went up last year. I'm pretty sure they're going to go up this year. My friends in the state tell me there's no relief coming from Concord. And I believe there's probably bad news coming from Concord. And we need to have that faith because we need to be able to fund the town. We need to be able to have town meeting pass the budget that you say we need. And that's very important to me. There is support of this community if you guys make the hard decisions. And that's what I'm hoping. Thank you.
Thank you.
And moving on into old business, R&D update. I have not heard of them. Ron, do you have?
I can give you an update, Mr. Stewart. So for those that may not know, we did some paving this year, Flagpole Road, Elbow Pond Road, and soon to be Plains Road. We solicited bids. We had 3 vendors submit bids. R&D Paving was one of those bids on the night that we were going to open the sealed bids. We opened the sealed bids. R&D's bid was invalid. They didn't bid it the way that we had asked them to bid it. The select board decided to reject their bid. The town received a strongly worded letter from R&D Paving's lawyers just saying, that wasn't very nice of you guys to do that. I sent the very strongly worded letter to the town's council. He responded that we'll add it to the file. He also recommended that I contact Primex, who is the town's insurance provider. Followed up with Primex. Primex got back to us and said, our insurance policy does not cover us for bid related suits or anything like that. So if something does come of this, then we'll be working with Drummond to see it through, but I don't think there's a lot of.
No further work though.
No other
We had
work,
2 letters from R&D and that's it.
only 1 letter from R&D.
No, actually, there were 2.
There were 2. We had a follow-up that said you didn't respond to our first one.
I have not seen that one, so.
The only one I saw is it came from you. They didn't send it to me directly.
There's an early one that said they were very disappointed in the process and the results. And asked us to hold on to all records to pending any other mitigation.
Which was related to the process from last fall, the contract, which was not what he's referring to.
Correct. That, you're right.
So there's 2 separate events we're talking about.
Correct.
Yeah, I was talking about the letter that we received on June 22nd, 2026, Strang Scott's.
Yeah, I don't know. There were 2 letters. One was the first, just about how disappointed they were, and then one was a little more forceful.
Yeah, the one that I pulled it up here from Strang Scott on June 22nd, that's about, what is it? What they had the exhibit 1 and 2, 3. Is that the one you're thinking of?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Like I said, it was a while ago and I hadn't heard anything. That's why I wanted the update.
Again, the only,
So nothing further.
nothing further that I'm aware of.
And we are retaining all of our records, right? Because basically what they've asked us for is a litigation hold. So. All right. Thanks.
And I had already sent them the other vendors bids and things like that, so there's really not much more that they don't already have from us.
Further. As for employee evaluations, and we have had some employee evaluations. I think the key one, we still have Dawn's to complete, which got thrown in the mix in these last few weeks. I believe we're at a point of doing
Right.
the consolidation of that, and that's scheduling the date.
Yeah, the staff, evaluation is what I was talking about. Yeah. I want to know what the status was of that, because I thought Tom was gonna put together a form, run it by us, and say, what do you think of this? And then we were gonna proceed with those, and I haven't heard anything. So,
No updates, sir.
okay. I know,
So the select board have talked about using the format of what we've done for Dawn's evaluation as a template also. Modifying it so it applies to the specifics of the job descriptions for all of the employees. So that onus is on us to complete first Dawn's. But there is also the need for, and it's has a dollar impact because once the individuals have their evaluations, then they are eligible for their merit increases. Yeah. And it's retroactive, in case anyone was wondering, it is retroactive back to the date. Their anniversary date, so it's not a being held up, it's held up, but it gets made up in the end. So if it's unclear, then let's set a date for having that wrapped to us for employees. We have had one in the past. I know that the two former highway supervisors provided some. I know the previous town administrator had one as well. More. So we should be able to take that and use it as a template. Sorry,
It will be doing, you're saying that the select board will be able to do that?
no, I'm asking Dawn to do that. In parallel to us completing his.
Okay.
And then we said we would develop a better process for going forward. Questions, thoughts? Okay.
Follow up.
Sherrard property, I know Dawn and I have talked about this a couple of times.
Again, that's, so I've met with the Conservation Commission a couple times. We had a really good meeting just a few weeks ago. Took really good notes. That is currently with, the town's council as well, so. The last question that we asked was, would it be possible to grant the Sherrards easement for their, sorry, Jesse. The corner of their house, their shed, even a second easement for, on the other side of the property, the little piece of their driveway that comes onto the parcel of land that is owned by the town and has been for quite a long time. I have not heard back from council yet as far as whether that's a viable path or we're gonna have to do something else.
And that was as recent as earlier this week.
That was,
That council is still reviewing that.
okay.
President, you have something?
Just to clarify, the idea was to carve out a reasonable area to use the house and driveway and a separate deeded right to use the well.
To the well.
And that area that they would have deeded access to use the house and driveway would resolve the encroachment issue. And it would allow them to do activities there without expanding the footprint of any of the developed parts.
Property is maintained by the town, by the Conservation Commission, but they have an easement to use to where they're encroaching on it from history of more than 20 years ago.
Which is
deeded
basically
access.
came up with like
Well,
meeting 2 months ago, right? So just that, basically it's the same thing. Yeah.
Transfer station fees.
as far as the most recent thing we were talking about was the C&D policy. That was the big one that was sort of crushing us. So with the new policy that we were allowed to implement, that has greatly reduced our volume of C and D that we're having to deal with. We've limited that to a single, standard pickup truck load. You can do up to 2 pickup truck loads per week. That has greatly cut down on a huge part. Al will attest to this. So as far as the other fees, after doing the study, I mean, we're a little higher than Wilmot on some, we're a little lower than Salisbury on some, we're talking $1 or $2 that it's not going to move the needle in a meaningful way. And I don't think we need to move the needle in a meaningful way. It was really the C and D that was crushing us. So at this time, I don't see a huge need to really adjust the fees. The one that always comes up is mattresses. We do lose money on mattresses, but we make money on electronics. We make 100% on aluminum. We make 100% on scrap metal. We break even on tires. We mix paper. We do okay. It's break even on paper. On glass, we have to pay for glass to go out. We don't charge for glass, but we do have to pay for it. Cardboard we make money on, so. To say to that.
I'm not sure if there was any thought. We did.
Well, I mean, we've been talking about it for a while, right? Back when Kevin was here, we talked about updating our fees and I just didn't know where it stood. It's like we keep kind of kicking this is like the first time we've had some real discussion about the C and D doing anything for it. So.
That was like 3 weeks or 4 weeks ago.
Right, but the effect of it, I'm saying.
Oh, yeah, yeah, no, it's been great. It's.
Bond counsel or the development of bond counsel, part of this, I think, goes also with the RSMS. In that, this is my understanding of others fill in that we wanted to get the database put together first, so we had good information to then feed into the potential bond counsel. That allows us to put together the package.
Yeah, I think
we're bringing forward.
if we try to find bond counsel at that point, it's going to be late. I mean, I think we should kind of have the bond counsel do the interview, figure out who we want, have that all set up in advance so that then when we get the RSMS data and we're ready to go, we can say, okay, here's our package. I mean, we could just say, all right, we're just gonna go, with the law firm that we use for the rest of the town business, or we could say we wanna try to find, bond counsel.
Well, I think it would be specific to the bond.
Right, that's what I would think. So, I mean, I think we gotta start that interview process now so that they're in place and ready. Once we've got the information in the fall.
You want to take the lead on playing together?
If I may, I was under the impression we were not shooting for this coming town meeting. That we were putting it off for the following fall. And that getting our bond counsel wasn't necessarily, because it's a non-lapsing appropriation. We weren't in any rush to get it prepared for March 27th.
I don't know if we had that discussion.
Oh, well.
I mean, that was kind of why we wanted.
We specifically had that conversation, and Jeremy remembers that too. And he was planning on that coming forward following season and not the current one, not the current upcoming year.
I think the whole bond process is going to be a long process, right? We've got to educate people. We have to have meetings. So I think getting bond counsel on board to say, hey, is this even feasible? Is something, I mean, that's part of that's why we've got the money in the budget this year to do that. It's to get them on board, talk about feasibility. How much of a bond can we get? And at that point, then we can work with the RSMS, with Jeremy and try to figure out, all right, what is it we want? And maybe it's not that we're voting on it at the town meeting this year, but we can start, we can make some presentation at the town meeting. We can let them know it's coming. We can start those meetings going. Because it's going to be a whole education process if we decide to go down this road. But we don't at this point even know if we can do that. We had one meeting, Don had talked to somebody, he didn't think we could even get $1 million. So if that's the case, that's not going to buy as much.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I think we've gotta get council on board that's, you know, with their expertise. So that we can make informed decisions and, you know,
Okay, well, I accept that, and I was just, what I was hearing was a rush to engage this process sooner than later. And I just don't feel like there's enough uncertainty without the RSMS information.
Right.
For us to rush into get retaining counsel, paying them money to be on standby. I have a difficult time figuring out what we're gonna do for a project.
If we don't know, the date,
right,
which is the discussion we had previously.
which is the RSA. So we'll know that in the fall, but that's why we asked them to move that up as opposed to their original deadline was gonna be like the first of the year or something. And we said, well, we would really like that information in the fall. So that's why they're doing that instead of the culverts right now. So
Right.
I just think we gotta put it on our list
To start,
to start looking at bond council and seeing where we're going with.
well, it's gonna be the call here fairly quickly.
Right.
So do you want to pull together a list of potential?
I can reach out to some.
That'd be good. I think as a start, we start to look at who do we want to, and how do we make our determination as well? We should have protocol selection.
Right.
And, not necessarily shopping professional fees, but once we're in the fall, then we can start.
I think if we get a couple of them and they can write, you know, what they're gonna do for us, what their, you know, what kind of package they offer, what their fees are, then we can have a discussion. You know, make some kind of determination from that.
Good.
Is there any action item for me to take on this?
No, I'll reach out to some,
Okay,
I'll find some,
you know the New Hampshire bond bank too, I'm sure.
yeah.
Thank you. All right, we have reappointments for the Conservation Commission for Jeffrey and Tina.
Tina's here.
So I'm definitely. Definitely one here, so I can't tell the rest. Your voices, yes. Most of our appointments we did in April. I think especially you were dealing with some other issues at that time and Tina, I'm not sure, but for those, we asked some simple questions. So what's your, I know you've got, both have experience in your, but Bessie, why do you want to continue to be on? How do you see the Hanover Conservation Commission working? What are you bringing?
Yeah. I have been serving for, I think, nearly a decade now, and I bring some institutional memory to it, the same way that Tina does. And I find it a very meaningful group to work with. I enjoy the group and the process. I feel that we are making progress on a number of projects and have in the past. And I'm interested to continue serving.
Yeah, same question.
I've been with it since the beginning. Founding member. I have a lot of institutional
Yeah.
knowledge.
Well, I mean, that starts the question, do you start to fall through things?
Yeah.
You know, is it, gee, I've been doing it so long, this is the way I'm doing it, are we getting fresh? I think it's great that you guys.
Goes with it too. You know, I've done the natural resources inventory and updated that this year and
Great. Continue to do that.
Which was great, by the way. Fantastic job on that.
yeah, most of it. I'm surprised at how much updating it took.
I'm sure.
Just being, you know, a few websites or something like that.
It was
A
10
lot
years,
of
right?
changes
Since the last,
taken place
yeah.
with the state and town. It's an interesting document.
I mean, other questions? I mean, that is pretty basic. It's hard when we have these volunteer committees and we don't get enough volunteers for it. I know you guys have a lot of information and background and whatnot, Justin.
I have one more thing to add, which is that I invited Jerry Kersey to come. He is interested in stepping down from being a full member and transitioning to be an alternate. So he would be able to contribute if we get a shortage And just FYI, Nancy Teach stepped down at this last meeting because she's moving out of town.
Oh.
So we are gonna have room for newcomers.
You have a couple alternates though, right? Already.
Yeah. I could step up as a regular member.
That- Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I've been.
that would be great.
Like 5 or 7
I'm good.
regular members. Any number.
So are you just tangentially with the planning board's master plan process underway? Are you involved with that? Or you see the Conservation Commission involved with that as well?
I have not, but Nancy Robart has been.
Yes, please.
I'd like to acknowledge how valuable the work that Tina has done for us really is. This NRI is a huge undertaking. Many of our neighboring towns pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to outside people to do this for them. And she has done it twice now. That is very valuable. Thank you.
How did you go?
I was just gonna say, they're always forward thinking. I go to the meetings, and there's not a stick in the mud on that committee. It is really always, what are we gonna do better? How are we gonna help you? Yeah. Very impressive group.
We all get along.
Yeah.
I make a motion, we accept both. Yes, someone
Are we, starting Tina up for an alternate or for a full position here, or is it not distinguished?
This does a full 3-year term.
Hey, Taz is.
Yes.
All right, so I'll make a motion that we accept both Tina and Jesse for renewal of a 3-year term.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Oh,
Thank you. We'll pass these around, get you signed. Thanks. All right.
Jesse has one. It's not-
Yes.
I just want to check about whether or not you will consider switching Jerry Hersey from full member to part
Just
alternate member. Yeah, because he would come, but he's paying today, so.
Perfect. Day one.
Just to kind of piggyback on the good vibes for the Conservation Commission, Miranda, one of the co-chairs of the commission, has risen above the call of duty and helped one of the residents in town with a pretty serious environmental issue that is being caused by their neighbor. And Miranda reworked her entire schedule and went up and visited this resident and helped them out. I've been helping them out as well as much as I can as the health officer, but you know, Miranda really didn't have to do that, but she went up the hill and it was great. Did an awesome job. So I know she's not here tonight, but you know.
So I believe we have, they're not in here, some documents from Sarah.
Yeah,
We've
I
got
have-
those.
I have like those tabs on all those papers.
And these are to basically move the funds.
Into,
Yeah. Right now, we've seen.
There's 19 papers there.
Gonna get 19.
So,
And I made copies, so you guys know once season funded and the expenses that will come next select board meeting, where we're. So for you guys to review later.
it needs to put a total amount, correct? So I don't-
No more after this.
No more funding after this, correct?
So I don't necessarily feel there's a need for us to leave off these amounts, these are the amounts that are in the plan report.
Right.
Instead of that.
I'll give the secretary a.
So, and again, just to remind people, these are warrant articles that were approved at the town meeting, where we have funds go into different ETFs and capital reserve funds.
Please don't leave.
Now that we received the dollars from the July, majority of the dollars from the July tax, tax payments, we have the funds available to actually make those transfers, so now we can start to draw those down and use them or have them as non-licensed funds. So I'm not gonna read through these, we'll be signing, passing these on and signing them. If you have any interest in knowing what the numbers are, they're the same as what is in the.
Question related, you've got 2026 end balance. Is that our current balance or?
Those are expenses that we've already incurred that until we had the money in the accounts, we couldn't.
It's a due from
Yeah,
balance.
Say that again, Don?
So that's money that is pending. As soon as we fund the accounts, we're gonna take that money right back out again because we've already expensed against it, but it's just gonna still due from.
Right, so that's what my question was. So the end balance reflects that, not the July
Yes.
balance, the
the
end
end
balance.
balance
Right,
reflects.
that's what I want to know.
Yeah.
As I said, that'll just be happy when we fly into the evenings. Yeah. We'll move on to Andrew.
So
So this is your request for use of the EMS account?
Yes, I'm looking to tap into a revolving fund and buy 3 sets of gear for 3 members that don't have gear currently. So quote from IPS was $3,453. There's $29,000 in that account, more than $29,000. So I'm looking to spend $3,400.
These are new members?
No, I'm one of them, Jeff Miller, and one is a newer member who just got her license in the last few months. So
You have that quote for chance?
I have it on my email.
Does that
So-
go to the trustees of the trust funds?
No, the select boards actually are the agents to expend of that account, so if you can, if it's agreed for the select board, then just print a copy of the quote. The select board can sign off on it, and then we can cut the check for it.
Yeah, we'll go to the bill meeting. So, yeah, I haven't heard this up yet. I was waiting.
Yes, just again, if you get, unless you guys are okay, just authorizing an expenditure of approximately $3,100.
$34.53. That's for 3 sets of gear.
3453, Andrew.
Yes. That's boots, gloves, everything but the helmet, but I have enough money in my budget and my PPE line to buy helmet.
There's nothing unusual about this. We've always bought the gear in the past,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah, currently we.
is there any reason why we wouldn't just say, get what you need?
I don't think so. We just don't have, we haven't had gear and there's certain instances where we should have it. And. Wait.
Is this the sole source vendor? You have additive estimates for alternative providers?
I didn't get any, I can, it's gear we already have, it's Tech Gen 51 gear. Just good gear, it's like forestry gear, but it's got a black one and it's about $1,100 with that. Over 5,000, I think it's 3 quotes.
Yeah, I was just looking at our procurement policy, which asks for expenditures over $1,000 to have multiple estimates. I was just curious if you had any of that.
No, I just been dealing with Gary and we've only had to buy once at a time. So we've been waiting to buy gear for all of it. I can get different quotes, but we just, the Tech Gen 51 gear from, he's the only one that sells that stuff.
So just so you guys know, selectmen, this is a special account that the treasurer manages or holds. And it gets the donations in there. And because of that, just like the rec, they have to come and get approval from you guys to spend the money. There
Is it funded
3,000
entirely by donations?
Yes.
Yes.
Is it subject to the town's procurement policy? Then would be a good question,
Yes.
because it's not a town fund.
Right. Linda Lester's point as well, where she had get three numbers, so see if there are other providers. And so, pick the best number.
But on the other hand, if there are no other providers, then
I mean, there's different
need
companies
to
out
stay-
there, but we just buy tech and we just have bought that stuff, so. Rather than having to deal with, oh, this rips on this one, I got to call this vendor, oh, this ripped on this one, I call this vendor. Just, we don't know. And then buy.
What kind of gear is it? What's it for?
So it's for like, it's like forestry gear, so it's flash rated, protected. It's for like auto extrication, anytime you're in a area that might be more hazardous than not, more of the standard nightfall. It's good for BSI if you know, if you're going to a hazardous environment or, when you're enclosed.
It was more, why is it so expensive?
$1,000, that's boots, you know, boots like $300. The coat and pants are 600, gloves are 50, the boots are 300, you're still toe, just stuff like that. There's all pieces added together, so $1,000 instead.
Yeah, I feel like we're, yes, not procurement policy, if this was a single. But multiple items, I don't think you're trying to game the system at all.
No,
I mean, I personally am fine, it's just.
Yeah, I don't have
a standardized package, same with what everything else is.
And I'm not quite sure really qualifies for this insurance policy because it is donated fund. That's what I'm saying. It's not town, it's not taxpayer money. Sorry, so
Is there a thought?
no, I have no objection. I'm just asking the question.
I make a motion, we just give Andrew authority to buy the same kind of equipment that he's been buying for
For this.
the other people.
Any further discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did.
Bring the quote for Lita and we'll get it.
I'll email you right now.
That'd be great. Highway supervisor report, and I think that.
You want to talk geese real quick? Just, that's a 30-second update. So the geese on the beach.
Peace on the beach.
Geese on the beach, was blown way out of proportion. Myself, Jeremy, various other highway department people, we're down there just about every single day. In the morning, the geese are hanging around, but the volunteers have really stepped up. They rake it up, they clean it up. It just got blown way out of proportion. I'm hoping that somebody comes along, anybody in the room that wants to shoot the bird bangers, come and see me. But Janet Eklund just decided not to do it this year, so they did move in. She was late to the party anyway, and I think that's partly why she was feeling bad, is because before she started going down there, they had already just landed and nested. So as the summer progresses, you know, the chicks will be out of there and it'll be less of an issue, but it's not nearly as bad as Facebook might lead you to believe. So.
If anyone does want to volunteer, we have this neat banger thing that scares
Yeah,
them away.
it's like
You
a
can bring your
flare gun.
dog. It's like a lot of fun.
It's pretty cool. A couple times a day, just go down there and scare the geese.
So that's like.
If anybody has a dog that likes to chase geese,
Dog's the best thing to get them to run.
sorry, highway supervisor report.
We've been working on, continued work on the beach hill. Kearsarge Mountain, the failed culvert has been replaced. Ditching on both sides of that to the bridge. Elkins Hill, we got York Creek, a little overgrown, but not weeds to take the grader out there, so I took the York Creek out there. It was the tree, big tree that came down, we removed that. Elbow Pond, the same thing, removed the tree, picked up all the brush. Flagpole is almost completely finished patching. We applied magnesium chloride to Hoyt Road, Valley, O'Neill, Smith, Chase, Courier, Bradley Lake, Putney, Raccoon, Keyser, Tucker Mountain, Elbow Pond, Monticello, Ridge Road, Lockwood, Kearsarge Mountain, Elkins, Pinewood, Severance, Blueberry, Louis, Princess, in Stewart. The 550 we serviced, we installed and set up the spray unit. Next few weeks to finish up Beach Road. The pavement section at Elkins Hill is gonna be ditched. We'll be patching on Laurel Hill, Dyer's Crossing, and there's a few small ones on Channel Road. 22nd to 8th, there's forget the name of the company, one of the vendors we deal with offered to come out with 2 of their machines and do a demonstration on some crack sealing and mastic for my crew. They have not ever done that, so they are coming out to see that. We have available to rent any of that stuff at any point that we choose to do some of that, or we can have somebody do it. But it was a free thing that they offered, and I said, fine, there was no problem with that, so we will pick a few spots and we will go through that process. Is coming on Monday to install the radio in the Mini and truck 5. The 550 will be getting sent out. Still haven't had time to get the air conditioning fixed, and the transmission cooling lines are all rusted and they're leaking.
Into 550.
Yeah, that's our oldest truck. And the other International is still in resting, waiting for parts. That's some of what we've been doing. We've been doing other things, but I didn't have time to write everything down.
Yeah, I saw you're on, and so we're not necessarily taking notes because we did get a copy of this electronically this afternoon as well, right? Right, it's good information. I did see you guys out on Maple Street also. I think it was large Maple.
Yeah, oh, yeah, there was another one, yeah.
Guys are right there. I'll be running in the morning, clearing that out. It's great. I also saw on the 23rd on Plains Road, and it's good public information as well. There's a sandwich board up for a shutdown for culvert replacement.
Yeah.
Where it gets Switch Road, that was right there.
Where the culvert sank there, yeah, and might have to do the one back before that, but we're gonna do that one and we're gonna look at the other one.
How long will that take? I mean, is it a full day shutdown?
Probably. By the time you get everything set up, get the pavement cut, because that one's in pavement, so we gotta do all that. Take it out, get it compacted in and get the shoulders done and everything else. Yeah, it's probably half a day. Anyway.
That's not the big one we were talking about, right? That's not the 5-foot.
No, that one I got a quote on sleeving that, right at the limit of the permits that I can do, and the water flow hasn't stopped, so that will be, we can pave and do that one in the spring and plan for that in next year. That's a.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we're talking about 2 different culverts.
No, this is at Plains and Switch intersection, and we did have an error this morning. It was nobody's fault. We had the signboard set up for the last job and we just changed the date. I did miss that Wednesday was still on there, and I posted it to try to let people know, but hey, we're not perfect. I went and fixed it. It's Thursday, we're gonna do it. And so people, people gotta say something, but just trying to let people know it. There will be road closed through traffic on either end before you get there, and then road closed where we don't want anybody else to come forward. Safety of my guys comes before people driving through there. And then we'll get it paved in, and then when it's gonna set for a little bit, then we'll base it back in, and then I will get a hold of GMI, and then we will do the rest of our paving.
Great.
And the open positions posted in multiple places, and that's what we're doing with that.
Do I know how many other surrounding towns, how many open positions there are? What the market's like that?
Almost every town is looking for highway laborers. It's tough.
Do we have anybody else trained, or, I mean, I know you've had some people going for a grader training, but is there anybody else qualified yet to run the grader?
I have 2 other members, myself and a part-timer.
Yeah, I didn't mean you. I know you know. I meant for someone else. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, there's a gentleman sitting in the back corner there that can run the grader for us if we need to. Zach Barton, I've talked to him as well. If we need grader specific work. No, it's pointless. Yeah, oh, I thought Steve was raising his hand like he's a grader operator. Oh.
But we also had Jimmy Johnson passed. So We do have options.
And I'd like to know why the town seems to like to chase off every good employee that they get. Has anybody on the board reached out to AJ to ask him why he put his resignation in? So when you have a fellow that is as dedicated, probably the most dedicated highway employee that's been in this town in decades. And you let him go without even asking why, but yet you sit here and talk about having an open position. And that seems to be an issue with all the surrounding community. So why aren't you inquiring on why he's getting done? You got a guy that is here every single day. In the wintertime, he's here every day on the weekends, checking the roads because they don't always get checked. He comes out to see it just on his own time, doesn't have to be paid, don't have to do nothing. When there's a major windstorm, he would come to town from Webster, mind you, on his own time, his own gas, and drive around town and look, because he's truly concerned about the community. The five of you, nobody's thought that maybe you should reach out and ask why? Or is it because you don't want to know why?
Respectfully, doesn't that seem, should they respectfully, wouldn't that seem like a conflict of interest to talk about it because he's your son? I'm just learning.
I got the right to ask the person on why our select board is letting good help leak.
So I guess just from a learning perspective for me, is this because he's your son, is that appropriate to ask?
Sure. Well, I point out, we've had other employees leave and we have not questioned.
You've had other employees that ain't worth a shit leave.
I think there comes a point where you have to respect an individual's decision to make their own way in the world. And he's a grown man. He put in his papers. He's done. We're not going to chase him for that reason.
Nobody asked you to chase.
Okay.
Nobody asked you to beg.
But we're going to respect his decision. That's it.
Because you don't want to know why.
No, it's because
You don't want to know why he's getting done.
Well,
Are there exit interviews?
I could tell you a million reasons, but I ain't getting into that. It's not my place to say. But as a taxpayer, I'd like to know why you guys don't even bother to ask.
because we're respecting his decision.
Because you don't care.
Yeah,
I appreciate your opinion, but that's your opinion. That's not the case.
It seems to be the same every time something like this comes up. You shy away from it. Don, do you think that the board should ask him why? Before you answer that, think about conversations you had with him prior.
I'll regard it sweet. The board, it's not. We're
Hold
gonna.
on a minute, man, please.
Well, it's not. Well, let's remember, this is a select board meeting.
I'm asking a question.
And I think we're starting to get out of line here.
Why?
So, because this is a board that makes the hiring and firing decisions. As Les points out, if someone says, I'm done, here are my keys, here's my badge. We respect that. So thank you very much.
So can I get Don to answer my question?
I'm not sure that,
Or am I not worthy of an answer?
what was the question again? I'm sure.
What did Don say to AJ about, do you think the board should ask him and talk to him?
I will say to the board, two things. I can share the text message that you sent to me, sir, with the board. I can share that privately or publicly. I think it should be a non-public because it does affect reputation, potentially yours specifically. And then
care about mine.
again,
Shit, I'm here anyways.
non-publicly, again, I did speak with the board as far as when AJ gave me his notice, I was the first person he told, and I did share those reasons with members of the board, so
Was he offered an exit interview? Was that part of, is that where?
that's not standard practice.
So the fact that you don't think that the board should talk to AJ because you feel that he would undermine Jeremy? Don agreed they should, but said he was hoping they wouldn't because it would undermine Jeremy even more.
That's secondhand information, sir. If AJ's texting you
Am I
that,
wrong?
I did
Am I
not.
wrong?
What, we're gonna play the text message game, Steve?
Don't,
No, fine. We're gonna move on. Thank you.
You guys have a freaking joke, all of you.
Thank you. Tim, if you have a question?
I'll just say, I'm in a very horrible position with what I do. And one of the things I'm very anal about is if someone walks up my job sites, I chase. And they just chase them down and put the notes down. Strictly, my number one concern is liability. My number one concern is they saw something they felt unsafe. It was something that I'm gonna get away from that's gonna make me be a better boss or a better procedure, whatever else. And I would strongly suggest that you guys put exit interviews in because the biggest part of liability, the reason my insurance requires it is if someone leaves me and they say it's a safety reason and I have an accident in 6 weeks, I'm in deep shit. And you just want to know why they leave, so it's not something that comes back on you for that simple reason.
I work in HR and
I have a question. Don said that he gave information to the board about AJ's leaving. I never get any information on that.
I sent you an email that said,
You said that AJ gave him no, what you said.
and anybody that was curious, I talked to them.
Never mind.
Tim, Flag Hole Road, moving observation.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you the history of Flag Hole Road is we had it paved by Pike Industries many years ago. And right after they paved it, we had troubles with the road because it's got moving sand underneath it and the road was doing all kinds of nasty starts. I was driving down by the other day when VMI was paving the road. It had rained. The potholes were full of water. They laid down their binder coat and the binder coat was turning coffee brown. And I just wanted to bring it to your attention, so in case the road fails because it didn't bind properly. You don't put binder down, you and I both know this, unless the road's dry. I'm just, I asked Dawn just to bring it to your attention.
Yeah, I can speak up. Warren called me, who's the owner, who was down there. I made my way down there. They cleaned everything off and they did not put any pavement down or emulsion until it was dry. I was down there.
So was I.
Not gonna get into the.
Well, I'm not arguing.
They guarantee their work. The color changes, the emulsion's brownish black colored normally. We have some right at the shop. I show you if you want to see it.
All I'm doing is bringing it to your attention because of the fact that we have had trouble with that road before with paving. That's all. You're welcome.
Police station updates. So Charlie and I have worked with the chief, almost a year ago. And had some plans that were laid out that were in the $1.2 to $1.7 million. Which we said, that's more than what I think the town wants to bite off. And it has quite a bit of, more to it. We're really sure, I mean, basement, it has a second story, Sally Port.
A lot.
There's a lot, And we've also done some investigation into whether there are state requirements on municipal police stations, which surprisingly there are not state requirements. Other than maintain, if you have it separating out pediatrics or adolescents from adults. That doesn't mean you can't figure ways to switch the use of spaces and whatnot. So we realized those numbers and now we're in the second phase of saying, how can we start to trim that back? What are some other thoughts of doing this? Which, we scheduled some meetings and then various conflicts did not have those. Yeah, we need to
I just want to get it back on the.
Ryan, I think Les has done some investigation also with his background. I don't know if you want to fill in the rest that I've missed.
Well, aside from the specifications which the architect forwarded on that plan that you were referring to that came in at 1.2, 1.4, whatever it was. I went back through my building experience and spec'd it out as not quite as elaborate, not quite as high-tech as the specifications which they did. And I said that you could probably build that building for $850 in that vicinity, but it would be more a conventional product. It would be, drywall, it would be plywood, it would be regular siding. It wouldn't have as many windows. There were a number of addressing your concerns. The Sally Port was a little less involved and those kinds of things. So I think there's room for even further carving out of that plan and using more conventional construction techniques and less pushing profit out the door for consultants and or construction engineers, which may or may not be necessary. I think your point that there's more work that could be done on it. I think
just want to get
there's adequate room.
And kind of tell them our
Yep.
thoughts.
And there's very much, I personally think there's a lot of room there.
Yeah, I agree.
So do you like, I believe you talked to, I think Jim has as well, with Valley or Preferred Building System.
I didn't talk to LaValle. I talked with Joe.
Okay.
I talked to the chief about what his needs were and based on my paring it down.
Right.
And he felt that was, not undoable or unlivable.
Joe and I talked to Valley, and they were supposed to, Jeff up there was going out for a surgery, and he was supposed to get back to us with information, and he never did.
I think, I think we need to follow with the Valley, I think, and get a meeting with them and Joe. I agree, we can probably do this thing for $650, $700.
And eliminating the basement altogether would be a huge.
I mean, I got a lot of ideas. Sounds like you've got some ideas. I just want to get back on it rather than have this slip away. That's all. So.
Well, I think, the two of you are experienced and expertise, bring that in as well.
Well, I'm only an architect. You're an engineer.
It's true. And
So-
I'm just a nail banker. I'm not any professional.
Yeah, John.
What you're talking about now, the building that was rumored to be attached to the fire station?
Correct.
Okay. As a fire commissioner, since the town doesn't own that building and that property, the fire district does. I respectfully request that the fire commission be involved in your discussions regarding that building.
And we have,
And we be included.
we have reached out to the fire commissioners when we were first, this was 2.5 years ago.
I was gonna say not since March.
No, because we recognize
But if
that.
you're proceeding with this, I think that it's important that we're involved.
We're still in the very early.
Yeah, we don't even know what the ask is.
Right. But we certainly will include
I
you guys.
personally have some concerns about the plan in general. So I'd like to discuss that with you, not here and not now, but at a meeting that is specifically for that building.
We'll get you involved.
Sorry, trouble hearing you.
I silenced her too.
Yeah, I don't have Joe's direct number.
No, well,
You
he's
can get it to me.
in Pittsburgh. So
Yeah, but I mean,
I can get that to you.
all right, I'll reach out and I'll schedule something with you. John, if you give me your number, I'll get you looped in or whatever.
Thank you. SMS update.
Sure. So the RSMS, again, for those that are new to the meeting, that stands for Road Surface Management System. It's a very comprehensive assessment of every mile of gravel and paved road in town. Same group that's doing the RSMS for us is also doing what's called the CCDS, the Closed Culvert Drainage System Assessment. Same idea, just for culverts and drainage basins. So there's a couple of interns. You may have seen them driving around in a white like SUV. And this is just a quick update from intern 2, which is hilarious. That's his email address, is intern 2. So far, we have wrapped up our data collection for RSMS, and we'll begin using our forecasting tools next week and start making current status maps after that. On the CCDS side of things, we just wrapped up our 3rd day of data collection yesterday. So this email came in actually this morning. RSMS data collection went very smoothly, and CCDS is off to a great start as well. But that data collection does take a bit longer because they actually have to get out of the vehicle. They look into the culverts, they, take pictures and things like that. So any questions from those?
We do have to update that list of,
Did do that.
no, we need to further update it because there are a number of roads that were not listed in that Excel spreadsheet that they gave us. Any number of 5, maybe 6 roads that weren't on that list. We gotta update that quickly before they prepare their report.
So my understanding is, this may be from my talking to Les or Mark, that they do a grading system, grading as in from a 1 to a 5, as far as almost what I would call facility condition index, something that tells you what level it's at.
And also how big it is. There's two different methods.
And they also do a forecast of how quickly do you need to do what to that particular section of the road, which will inform a lot of what we go with the bond issue.
Are they doing the entire road or are they breaking it in segments?
Quarter-mile segments.
Right. This one tool to use with a lot of other information.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Driving the roads is big.
So would you say we're ahead of schedule? Sounds like it.
On schedule, I think.
Data. Mosen.
Well,
Hi, again, Maureen Callahan from Hall Road. As you're all very well aware, Hall Road was scheduled to be done last year, along with 2 other roads. And in a meeting that I was not at, it was determined that it would not be done. And I came and I talked to all of you about, I too looked at 18 months worth of minutes to see where the RFP was not clear and where anyone objected to doing Hall Road. So I am really concerned if one of the grading mechanisms is how many vehicles travel. There's 5 homes on Hall Road. And the fact that we went from we're doing it to now what? I really am skeptical that I'm gonna see new pavement. And I find, I don't understand how you go to, we're doing the road to now we're doing a grading system. And one of the things will be how many taxpayers, how many homes are on the road, because that's going to determine the traffic on it. So, I'm going to be here all the time until I see fresh asphalt on that road. It is in bad shape and it's not going to look better. I've actually paid to have a catch basin done because I was about to lose the last 20 feet of my newly paved driveway because of all the water and sand and everything else. It's just rushing right over it. I don't appreciate that. So I will be a voice until I see pavement on that road. And I sure hope other people aren't getting pushed off to the end of the list because they have just a couple of homes on the street. Thank you.
so the next item is a discussion of the release of the June 25th event video. This is a CCTV, non-audio, it's just a visual, this camera up here. When we were in a non-public session, we met with general counsel and reviewed it and, the board's feeling, I will take a motion here in a moment, is that we want to make sure that we are open and transparent on these issues. We would not normally be releasing CCTV video regardless, but because this is a specific incident, we feel it is in the best interest to have that information available for the public. And I would entertain a motion to release the full video for public use.
I'd make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. Les.
Yes, I'm reluctant to actually support releasing the entire video because we have a 991A3 request in front of us. I think we should address the Freedom of Information Act of the 91A request first. For that specific segment to be released.
So you're proposing to do this in two pieces?
Yes, if in fact it's even necessary to release the entire thing, we definitely should, because the 91A request was denied, I think we need to address that. If we release the whole thing, does that automatically make the 91A move?
It does.
I don't think
So,
What is the 91A?
so it's a
right now.
right to know. So, I mean, the 91A says the requirements for us to satisfy that are to make it available. So if we release the entire thing, it becomes available and I think it becomes moved.
General counsel also said, if you're gonna release a segment, release those things.
Right.
So,
That's what their suggestion was. So,
As the person that submitted the 91A request, if you guys release the entire thing, I will only grab the clip of the event anyway, but if other 91A requests come in for the entire video, which is probably an hour and a half long, it's available.
which is about as exciting as this right here. So
And there's no, you can't hear anything.
there's no audience.
Yeah.
There's nothing visible except for people sitting around.
so can we get the entire video posted like we have for some of our select board meetings?
I think we make it available if someone wants to ask for it. It's up to you, it's Jim.
My feeling is that if you're gonna release it, release the whole thing, because everything that led up to what happened was the whole meeting, not just part of it.
Right. Any further discussion? All those in favor of releasing the full video? Aye. Opposed?
So a little unclear whether we're posting this.
Yeah,
Just releasing it.
No, just,
Yeah.
it's available. That's
Posting would be something.
I think we should post. I think it should be out there like sometimes we've had issues come up at our select board meetings. And somehow the recording of the select board meeting has been made available. I think that there's a lot of people that aren't necessarily here, might like to see the entire video. I think we should just make it, I mean, there's Facebook posts that are out there and everybody's talking about this. I think we should just make the entire video available. Anybody that wants to look at this can look at it. And
That's what we just did, I think.
no,
That's what I'm asking, just put it,
asking for that
we
clarity.
have a link onto the town's webpage.
Yeah, just put in that and link on the webpage or wherever.
Do what hosting mechanism?
Now that's a YouTube channel.
Right, so if you just put it up there and then everybody that wants to see it, can see it, which I think is important.
Opposed?
Was that a motion?
I'll make it a motion.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
yeah, it's just not clear between you and Charlie. Are you going to put it on the website?
That's what we just.
Yes, that's what we just said. So, yeah, we're gonna put a link on the town website so that everybody can see the whole thing.
Okay, you too.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'm also gonna make a request that that camera be taken out of the meeting room, and if you wanna put it in the hallway, that's fine, but I don't believe it should be in this room.
I think let's wait till the future side.
That's fine.
I think we should have a discussion about it.
Yeah,
I don't disagree, but I think let's have. We'll put that on the agenda for our next meeting.
If we give P&Z Council travel.
So this is an operational issue and we use them as security cameras and they are throughout the building. Which is the same as when you walk into a bank or any other state building, and as an interim step, I've already talked to Don about possibly getting some signs from Mason or another company that say, video cameras in use in this building. So it is, they were put in place as a safety item, initially after there were some shootings at other town offices multiple years ago. We have stepped back from that. But there's still, there are times people are in this building either alone or with small numbers, and I think it's a good safety thing to have that, but I think we need to have a discussion as a select board as an operational issue regarding. Then discussing the June 25th event itself, I'm going to turn this over to Russ.
Certainly. What occurred in a non-public session. Non-public is entered into under some specific criteria for discussion that is not germane for the general public. It sometimes involves employees, it involves legal counsel, it involves lots of very specific criteria based on statutes. The statute is very clear that you should confine your conversations during those non-public sessions to the topic which the non-public is subject to. In the event that a public body enters into a non-public session for one of those purposes, all discussions and decisions must be confined to those matters and that are set out in the motion to go into non-public. Any deviation, for example, discussing unrelated policy issues, unrelated personnel matters, making decisions on non-exempt topics would be what is referred to as off-topic. And they are not protected by the non-disclosure statute, which protects the information that is discussed actually as the topic of non-public session. So in that regard, we have off-topic behavior and conduct which occurred during that non-public session, which is the nature of the dispute. And that occurred in no way identified or associated with the topic for which the non-public was made in motion and acted upon. And in that way, we're then coming here in front of the public to talk about that event, as has been discussed previously. Protections of information in that meeting are only related to the topic-specific information. And the non-topic information is subject to disclosure based on approval by the folks at this table. So my motion is the first motion I have is to approve the release of the non-topic information.
I'd like to add something to that.
So that was second for something. Yes. There's a second.
I'll second.
Yeah.
Part of the discussion that led up to what was going on was in the non-public meeting. Part of the discussion that caused all the ruckus was in the non-public meeting. It's what happened after that point where everything took off. So I don't have a problem with you discussing the whole thing, but if you're going to discuss it, you're going to discuss the whole thing, and that means you're going to open up the non-public and everything, because a lot of that what happened was in the non-public.
So the subject matter
Was in non-public.
non-public. The actions themselves
We're in public.
they took place in a non-public, but they are extraneous to the reason we're actually.
Absolutely, but
We're all in agreement.
right, but the discussion that led to was in the non-public, and the discussion that was going on was related to the non-public meeting we were having.
Right, but I don't think that means we have to release all the,
I don't
all
think
the
so.
full discussions on the non-public session. No, Tom.
If I may, just to add the actions that were taken. I don't care what we were talking about. I'll just leave it at that. It doesn't matter what we were talking about. We're talking about the actions that.
That's what I was.
Right.
Much more succinct way of saying, we need to separate the actions. What was the topic that we were in the saying, I think, Joe, I think you're saying that as well. So, and I think that is the motion. That's probably correct. The most succinct way to say it. We're separating the actions from the topic of what that was being discussed in the non-public session. Is there any further discussion on that?
Well, that sounds like it makes sense to me, but I personally am not familiar with the statutes that would govern any of that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, this is
But I think that's just to make sure that what we talk about is
but we're not disclosing into the
anything
non-public.
from the.
So why don't we just,
Discussion.
why don't we just say that? Why don't we just say, we'll have this discussion, but we all agree we won't discuss anything that was in the non-public discussion. Was that work for you?
Sure,
Les?
absolutely.
That's, you.
We cannot disclose the official.
Okay.
So
All right, so I'll make, so we have to vote on. Unless it's confusing.
Sure. Well, you might confusing motion. I'll defer to you.
Okay.
I'll withdraw my motion and let Charlie give the voice.
Yeah, so I make a motion that we proceed with discussing this as long as we all agree as select board members not to disclose anything that was of non-public nature in that meeting.
Second that.
Any further discussion? Those in favor? Aye. Thank you. Les, you said you had a second motion or what?
Excuse me, sure.
Yes.
Remind the people in the audience to.
Yeah. I would. And somebody left side of always.
Yeah, so you keep your pivoting to the absolute minimum, that would be helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, yeah, as a result of the activity involved, there was, in my view, there was cause for the issuance of a letter of censure for the conduct that occurred during the meeting. I have with me a letter of censure, which I would propose to enter into the public record at this point, which describes the incident, describes the events, and I would ask for consent to read that into the minutes of the meeting.
Yes,
Sure.
Okay. And in that regard, I will give you a copy of it so that you can follow along. And I have one for the secretary. So this letter is dated today, and it's addressed to one of our select board members, Mr. Delaney, from the select board, and the subject is a letter of censure. Dear Mr. Delaney, the Andover Select Board, after due discussion and a duly noticed public meeting on this date, July 16th, has determined that your recent actions on June 25th and again on February 19th, 2026, were inconsistent with the standards of conduct expected by members of this board. Specifically, the board finds that on June 25th, 2026, there was a verbal exchange with our town administrator, Don Seberg, during which you pounded on the table, shouted at him about an incident which was not related to the topic of the non-public session. During this exchange, you rose out of your chair while sitting next to him, pointed a finger towards his face, and again shouted, "I don't come into the office anymore because I do not like you." Prior to that, on February 19th, 2026, a similar outburst occurred where you pounded on the table, shouting for the town administrator to shut up and let me finish, stop interrupting and talking over me. These two incidents are examples of behavior which does not meet our standard of conduct as cited as follows. In the Andover Select Board's Governance and Policy Manual, Section 5, under Board Conduct and Code of Ethics, subsection 3, it states that members shall, quote, treat all staff, residents, and fellow board members with respect, professionalism, and civility, even in disagreement. This letter serves as a formal censure, a public expression of the board's disapproval of this conduct. While it is not an effort to remove you from office, it is intended to underscore the seriousness of this matter and to encourage adherence to the board's standards moving forward. The board expects that all our members will at all times conduct themselves with professionalism and respect, comply with all applicable laws, policies, and procedures, and work collectively to the best interests of the town of Andover as set forth by the Select Board. This censure will be entered into the official minutes of this meeting, July 16th, 2026, and placed in the public record and the personnel file. That is the letter of censure. I therefore move that the Andover Select Board issue this formal censure to Board Member James Delaney's conduct as outlined here, and that did not meet the board's standards of professional and ethical behavior, and that this action be entered into the official meeting minutes of July 16th.
There a second?
Second.
Discussion. Yeah.
Yes. I was out of line, I totally admit that, but the part about counting on the table and it was a point of the exchange was not part of the meeting. It was part of the meeting, the exchange, because it was brought up when you wanted to get rid of an employee. I pointed out something that was said in the town administrator's office about said employee. And that's what led to the whole thing. So that part right there, Les, should be taken off. I agree with the letter censor, but that part right there should be deleted. Because it was done in the non-public, and that's what led up to it.
Tom?
On June 25th, 2026, the same day as the events occurred, I wrote a extemporaneous memo to myself. Anybody else that has wanted to read it, I've allowed them to read, but the way I phrased specifically on the June 25th incident was, Board of Selectmen convened at 9 a.m. Immediately upon convening, the board entered a non-public session pursuant to RSA 91-A:3, Roman numeral 2, parenthetical lowercase a, the discussion concerning the disciplining of an employee. The substance of that discussion is confidential and not recorded here. During the non-public discussions, Selectman James Delaney became visibly agitated and violently slammed his fist on the table with substantial force, raised his voice to a shout, rose slightly out of his chair, advanced toward me, and extended his hand toward my face while continuing to yell at me. His conduct placed me in fear for my physical safety. I then stood, placed my keys on the table, approached Chairman Swenson, and asked to be excused. I left the room and stood outside the door, attempting to compose myself. Selectman Delaney's behavior continued for a short time and then subsided. Once it had, I returned to the room and resumed my seat. That's how I phrased it. You know, I don't have any issues with Jim's point. Again, I don't care what was being discussed. It's not important. What is important is that a selectman put his hand in my face and screamed at me.
And we are addressing things. Other thoughts among the select board?
So if we struck.
Other incident are really not topic.
Yeah.
Yeah, in other words, put a period after him and delete the rest of the thing. What do you think, Les?
Hey, if that's the will of the board, that's so be it.
What are we doing?
Basically, in the first one,
From field board.
We could cross off about an incident not related to the topic of the non-public session.
which is the same point you're making.
Yes.
Okay, so that's an amendment to the
Yes.
motion.
Did you get that?
We're just gonna finalize that.
So,
You wanna make that an amendment?
I already did.
Okay, that's what I thought.
So we have to vote on these amendments.
yes, all those in favor of that strikeout. Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
That's seconded. Your motion seconded.
I seconded it. All right, let's take this out.
All right, good.
Then back to the original motion. Any further discussion regarding the issue of a letter of censure? Hearing none, all those. Aye,
Aye.
opposed? Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
Madam Moore, what does this mean, this letter of censure, other than it will be entered into the
the
public?
letter of censure is the highest form of criticism that the select board can take against another select. Great, that's all we can do. It's
All right,
say that this is unacceptable behavior and not in keeping with standards.
okay, may I continue
Well,
just for a
Sure.
second? It still doesn't make me feel any better about coming to these meetings. Because I don't have any sense, any assurance, any guarantee that that kind of behavior will not happen again. I think I got my negatives right.
so that is actually the next bullet item on the agenda.
Oh.
Is a working group that has already met once and is trying to meet again tomorrow. That includes the town administrator, Selectman Calvin, and myself, to work through different protocols for the select board to use to establish safe work environment policies. Go back to Jim's comments about having policies in place. We've already been reaching out to other towns and other places and the NHMA and the town meeting forums to gather information to figure out what are the best practices of doing this, because we are not alone in this in New Hampshire, and that's coming through loud and clear. But we're also taking basically the same stringent steps as we can do under the RSA's. This basically comes down to, in my mind, if you don't like the action of a select board member, then don't vote for them, then that's fine. And these are elected officials. The standards are that you are treated the same as our representatives, our congressmen. If you don't like them, you don't vote for them. Censure is the most we can do.
And I think that obviates the discussion about the security camera, why we need it.
I'm just concerned, if this is the worst thing you can do is censure them, if this behavior happened again, would you just censure it again?
Ideally, it would not happen.
I understand that.
Unless it is a criminal or unless it gets into malfeasance, neglect, other issues, there are no legal recourses for dealing with any select board member. So if we are lying or not, if we are stealing, if we are inappropriately using town funds, those types of, there's 3 or 4 set acts that the town or individuals can take to a judge, the Superior Court, to enact the removal of a select board member, but that is a huge lift.
Yeah, so I'm gonna beg for some forbearance on the part of the public. Give us a chance to put in place different protocols for these meetings and different protocols for the workplace, and give the work task force an opportunity to bring these issues forward. We are addressing them to the best of our ability, but you gotta understand, you're basically asking volunteers to do professional work. So it's gonna take us some time to make sure we're doing it properly and not into judgment and putting in place things that can't proceed down the line, because we're not always gonna be here. And the next person sitting in that chair, the next person sitting in this chair, next person sitting in anywhere up here needs to have, to Jim's point, the policy to follow through and make the procedure better.
You've got a comment? Always felt that, like, board, city council and representative.
We're not city councilors. We are not charged. We are not charged.
You're here to protect the town as best you can. And what I can see is you've gone to the limits that you have to work with. I think the more important part is the work coming up to protect the town by including the policies that will actually work and have some teeth. So I think that's a great thing.
And some of them can be as simple as if one of us is getting irate, any one of the board members could ask for a recess. Just let cooler heads prevail, or even ask for an adjournment. So I mean, there are things that other towns have put in place. Yeah, we don't need to start from a blank sheet.
You can put like stuff out there.
Correct.
Is there a deadline or when you're saying you need to have a policy in place? Because
We have this, I mean, we've had one meeting, we have another one tomorrow, and we're in the gather. I would think within a few weeks. And it also points out there are multiple policies that not only this select board, like none of the select boards you see in Canada either. I don't believe there's a town whistleblower policy. I don't believe that there are state working time policies. And if there are, then we're gonna have to get them out and redo them and make sure that.
Because we absolutely need policies against things like retribution and harassment and ongoing gossip and all that kind of stuff that we don't have.
I want to address one thing, and I know a lot of you people in this audience have heard a lot of the things that have been said. But I gave you a list of things that concern me medically and et cetera. And that information, I gave it to 5 people, the board and the town attorney. Somebody called my boss today and asked, what can we do to help Jim with his problems? And he told him exactly what the problems were. Now, unless somebody on the board, which I don't think did, is passing out information, somebody else is. And to let you know, I have called legal counsel. I am going to get hold of disability lawyers because it's a HIPAA violation as well as my ADA violation. Okay, I am taking blame for everything that I did. There's 2 sides to every story. I'm not going to give the other side. I don't care about that.
Jim, you screamed in my face. You screamed in my face, Jim. Not raise this again. Thank you.
I'm not saying it. Anyway, I take my responsibility. You and I have had this discussion about things that are going on. But when you start violating my HIPAA and my ADA by spreading it all over town, which it was spread all over town because somebody put it all over Facebook, then I have a problem. And I will put a lawsuit against the town of Andover if I hear any more about it, because we sat at this table at a meeting last Thursday and a certain person said to us, I have not told anybody. I left this meeting and 5 people came out and told me they was taking it into the office and everything was told to them. So I just want to let that on the board. I'll take my punishment. I deserve it. But I don't deserve people going into my private history and spreading it all over town.
Any further?
To that regard, sir, we sat down the other day, you allowed me to record an apology, and you said, I cannot control these outbursts. I cannot control this. I don't care what policy gets put in place. That will not prevent another outburst from happening. To Janet's point, to Donna's point, I don't care what speed limit has ever prevented somebody from speeding. You know, what FAR has ever prevented an airplane from crashing. Jim is a liability to the select board.
Well, let me explain.
So let's not.
Can we address that? Because Mark was sitting right there because I made sure he said, can I have somebody there? I said, yes. Town attorney at our meeting recommended that I apologize to the town administrator. The next day, I called Don and I said, I'd like to sit down, have a talk with you and discuss things. He said, I thought that was a good idea.
I didn't say it was a good idea. I said, I'm okay with that.
He's okay, same thing, thematic.
Very different.
So we met down here Monday morning at 7:30. Mark, you were here. First thing Don does, he puts his phone on. He says, well, I'm going to record this. Do you mind? I said, no, I don't mind. I said, everything I did, I did. But then again, when we were having the discussion, I said, well, all of a sudden he had nothing more to say because he was advised by somebody not to talk about it. So if I'm opening myself up to come down and talk to a person and he agrees to meet with me, and then you come down to the meeting and he's taping your conversation on advice from somebody, don't know who, don't really care. But then when it's all done, I'm the only one doing the talking and he's not saying anything.
And it's my understanding,
Nothing. That's the thing. I don't hold him up.
So this isn't a trial. This isn't a tribunal. And we've already censored select board members. Exactly. And we all agree what happened should not have happened. It's not acceptable. It's not within our standards. Yeah, I'm not sure that we need to continue to rehash that. Now, we may or may, it sounds like some people may not agree that putting safe working policies in place and making every attempt we can to enforce them is enough. That may be. I mean, you do what you can do. You put the policy, the practices in place, and you work towards them. In the ideal world, that has a positive effect and everything goes forward. We don't always live in the ideal world. And tempers flare, people get upset, and things happen. But we are taking what steps we can in conjunction with the people involved, figure out how can we make this a better working environment. And those are the steps that if people have other ideas of ways to do this. You know, as Les pointed out, we're volunteers. I'm an engineer. I'm not a human resources person. I've dealt with many human resources people. Yeah, but my experience in the corporate world is these are the steps you take and you figure out how to move forward. And it's not an ideal world. And I doubt that it ever will be.
so to Jim's comments about the meeting Monday mornings. My understanding was that Jim reached out to Don to see if he would meet with you so you could apologize to him. So I, to my way of thinking, it's not necessarily a reasonable expectation on your part to think that he would engage. He was there to hear your apology. So that would be the way that I see it.
So I agree with you to a point. But it was also a two-way exchange going on. I am a selectman. He works under the Board of Selectmen. He's a town employee. We are basically his boss.
Yeah.
So I admit that I was a little disrespectful, probably you say a lot, but there's a reason that led up to it. But let me finish, Mark, because I understand.
Actions. It does not justify the
Stop.
It does not justify the action.
But when I talked to him, my understanding was that not just me apologizing, because I was going to apologize anyway. I said that right at the meeting we had. I thought it was going to be a conversation that we could iron things out. I didn't expect to come down to a meeting and have somebody put their phone on the table and said, I'm good recording this. Do you mind? I said, no, I don't mind.
I asked you for.
I said, I don't.
Specifically for
I
that.
don't
No,
mind.
it's a two-party consent state.
I said, I don't mind. You can record it. I have nothing to hide. But I thought there was going to be a conversation. And there wasn't. So I felt kind of like, have I been baited into something down here? You got me to say that I'm already on his phone or this, that, or the other thing? And he's not going to say anything?
I mean, there's a certain part of you gracious to say, thank you. But, I mean, that's just kind of not present there.
understand.
I'm given to remember the council, when she said that elected officials are held to a higher standard than employees.
Absolutely.
And she said that there are much greater protections afforded the employee than are afforded the elected official. And because of that need to be maintaining a higher standard, you sometimes are not going to get that apology. And she said that specifically.
I understand that, and I was not expecting an apology from him, but I was expecting a conversation. Yeah. I've been living this every single day of the week since this all happened, with everything that's been said about me around town. All the information about my personal history that's been passed out to everybody. Mr. Danforth knows what it is because he called Mr. Thompson today and said, we've got to get Jim help for his problem. Well, how did you know about my problem?
Jim, I've known about your problem for a long time. I've lived in this town for 30 years. You've told me about your problem several times, Jeff.
Well, I don't think I did, but that's beside the point.
Well,
Right.
Anyway, let's let water under the bridge. Let's move on forward and see if we can't just.
That's what we're putting in place, working forward to go for. Thank you. Yes.
So I know it can be a big undertaking, but I really think I'm only familiar with like SAMHSA grants, where there's a grant. I know they're very intimidating, but having an outsider come in to try and help facilitate this and get a procedure in place. And while I understand there are only so many steps that can be taken, just bluntly, as a mother of 2 young girls, my husband and I really try to say, like, these people in our town, we should be able to look up to them. We should be able to respect them. There's a code of conduct that goes with that, as well as our fire chief, our police. Yes, this is a small town. I've learned that since the second I came here. It's unexcusable to act like that and think that you can, in my opinion, and still be an board member. Some of that is like, it's like the unwritten rule. So I just think it sends a very mixed message if we allow somebody to stay in a position like that. That's just
We don't have an option.
There's no other authority.
No, sure, but that's.
Are you asking him to resign? Is anybody in the room willing to step up and ask Jim to resign?
No, say no,
But-
because this is your main goal anyway.
Oh, did you ever hear?
The failure happened when the event happened, because I still have not heard any words that anyone else on the board intervened in any way. And that to me is appalling. And I expressed that 2 weeks ago. The thought that you all sat there and watched this happen and didn't address it. And now we're talking about writing policies. Policies do not affect people's reaction decisions. They don't. And I'm putting myself in the place of our town manager, who is the 4th in the last 6 years. I've been here 6 years. I think he's number 4. And there is nothing that I've heard tonight that would give me, if I was sitting in his chair, that would give me any comfort that this situation will not happen again and may escalate, because I'm hearing an apology with an expectation, and that's not an apology. And that, again, that's all I need to say.
And further? Should we adjourn?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
All those in favor?
No.
Opposed? Thank you.
If anyone else would like to talk to me after the meeting, I'd be happy to talk to you. Would like to share some other information with anyone that would like to listen.